wet. Now I'm wet. These colors behind me can only mean one thing. It's time to winterize. Now, when it comes to winterizing your RV, you probably know there's two different methods. You can either use the air blowout method or you can use the RV antifreeze method. Which one is better? Neither. They both actually work well. So in this video, we'll show you the air blowout method step by step. We'll also show you the RV antifreeze method step by step as well. To begin either one of these methods, the process is the same. We're going to turn off our water supply and disconnect the hose from our RV. We're going to turn off the electric power to our water heater. We're also going to turn off the gas to our water heater. Then we're going to drain our water heater, drain our fresh tanks. If we're using the air blowout method, we're going to open up our low point drains and drain those as well. But in this video, we'll go step by step to show you how you can winterize your own RV. So next, we're going to drain our water heater, remove the cover. Our water heater is a Suburban water heater, so it's going to have the anode rod down here in the bottom. You might have another brand that'll have a white plastic plug down here in the bottom corner. It's actually usually kind of tucked up behind here. This is what we're going to use to drain the water heater. So after you have let the water heater cool off so that the water is no longer hot, you can open your PNT valve. That's what this valve is called right here. Crack it open. You may get a little bit of water coming out just like that. Once you do that and release the pressure, then you can remove the anode rod and the water will come out here. Or you remove the plug, the white plastic plug, and the water will come out there. Keep that white plastic plug because that's actually the safety mechanism for that particular water heater. You'll need to replace that plastic plug when we finish up our winterizing. The next thing we're going to drain is our fresh water. On our particular coach, it's right down below. You'll see a valve right there, similar to the valve that you have for your sewer gate or your dump tanks. That valve you can pull, and whatever is in the fresh water will dump right out the bottom. So make sure you drain all the water from your fresh tank so that it's completely empty. Also, we're going to open the low point drains. That's the little valves that are red and blue. They have a little valve here on the end. Open both of those up. When you open those up, make sure to open the faucets on the inside in your kitchen and in your bathroom. That'll allow all the water to drain out of those lines out the bottom here. So after several minutes, once the water has stopped draining from your low point drains, go ahead and close those valves. When it has stopped draining from your fresh water, go ahead and close that valve as well. When it has stopped draining from your water heater, go ahead and replace it with a new element if you want to, or replace the plastic plug that's here. If you have a Truma on-demand water heater, they'll have a water bladder on the side here with a lever and a filter inside that allows you to drain that water bladder also. If you have a different on-demand style water heater than Truma, go ahead and follow your manufacturer's recommendations for how to winterize that unit. But I like to go ahead and replace the anode at that time. I like to seal these back up for the winter to not let any critters or spiders or anything that might want to get in there and build a nest. So I'll go ahead and seal those back up once they've drained. Once we've allowed the water to drain out of our fresh tank, out of our water heater, and out of our low point drains, we'll go back in the coach. We'll shut all the faucets at that time. Then we'll take our air adapter that we can get from Amazon. We'll put a link in that below. You're going to put your air adapter here on your city water connection. You're going to screw that in, make sure that's tight, and then you'll hook your air hose up to the city water connection. You're going to want to set your compressor at about 50 psi. Some coaches will have a different recommendation, anywhere from 30 psi to 50 psi. I generally use 50. Seems to work pretty good. I haven't had any trouble with it. So once we've got the air hooked up to our city water connection, we'll turn the compressor on, run at 50 psi, and then we'll go around to each faucet inside the coach and open up the faucet until we hear air coming out of the faucet, until all the water has cleared from that particular faucet. So you're going to do your kitchen faucets, your bathroom faucets, your shower, also your toilets. You'll want to hold down the foot flush until you hear air come out to get all the water cleared out of that line as well. Make sure if you're using this air process to clean the lines that you actually put it on your city water setting. Not all bays look the same, so your setting might be different, but you want to set up your air so that you're blowing through the city connection of your coach. So if you have one of these, set it to city. If you don't have one of these, put it on the setting that you would normally use your regular water in the coach, in that setting, so that we can get the air through the lines that the water would normally be. So when you're using the air blowout method and you go inside to clear each faucet, make sure that you open each faucet individually. You want the maximum amount of air to go through that faucet to clear all the water. So when you're done with, say, your kitchen faucet, use the cold water and the hot water to clear all those lines, then close that faucet and move on to the next faucet. Once you're done with that, then you'll need to take RV antifreeze and you'll need to pour it down each drain, because you may have a water P-trap at the end of the drain. So you want to clear that water out with the RV antifreeze so that you don't have any issues with your P-trap. Some of the traps are waterless P-traps, and instead of going through your RV and checking every drain to see whether it's a standard P-trap or a waterless P-trap, just put a little antifreeze down each drain and you'll be sure to be covered for that scenario as well. That antifreeze that you put down the trap will also make its way down into your holding tanks. To have a little bit of antifreeze in your holding tanks is good as well, because you'll naturally have a little bit of residual water in your gray and your black tanks. So allowing some of that antifreeze to then make its way to the holding tanks will keep any water in there from freezing also. Your water pump may have water in it as well. So what you can do in this scenario, you've already drained your fresh water. You can turn your pump on and allow the pump to clear the water from itself and from that line. You just don't want your pump to run too long without any water through it, because you can end up burning up your pump. So only do it for a brief period of time to clear the water then out of the pump. Using this method to clear the water, I've used several times and never had a problem with a leakage or a breakage with a water pump. Now, let's take a look at how we winterize with RV antifreeze. So we're back here at our water heater. We've allowed it to cool off. We're going to do a very similar process. We're going to lift the PNT valve, pressure and temperature valve, to release pressure. Then we're going to remove the anode rod or the white plastic plug, however it is that we need to drain our water heaters and allow all the water to drain out of the water heater. You also want to drain the water from your fresh tank, get all that water out. Now, in the method with using the antifreeze in the lines, we can replace the plugs back in the water heater once it has drained. But then we're going to come over to our water bay and we're going to set our water bay to winterize. If we have the winterization method in our valves to set it up that way, we'll set them to winterize. If you don't have this type of a water bay that has these valves in it, you're going to need to go to the lines that go to your water heater and you need to put them in bypass. Likely somewhere back here where your water heater is, you're going to look for that valve to bypass it so you don't end up with antifreeze in your water heater. So basically the water that's coming in, or the antifreeze that's going to come in the city water connection, is going to bypass the water heater and go into the lines, into the faucets, because you don't want to fill your water heater with 8, 10, 12 gallons of antifreeze. So you want to take that line and bypass the water heater, go straight into your coach. The next thing we're going to do is we'll use a section of garden hose similar to this with the end of it cut off, and we'll put that end into our gallon of antifreeze. So this hose into this gallon of antifreeze with our water bay set to winterize or our water heater in bypass mode. And then we're going to want to turn our pump on. We actually have a switch out here that turns our pump on. You may have a switch inside that turns your pump on, but you're going to want to turn that pump on first before you go into the coach. With the RV antifreeze method, it's very similar. We want to go to each faucet and open up the valve until we see pink fluid running through the cold side and the hot side. Once we're done with each faucet, we close it and move on to the next faucet. Make sure we get antifreeze through every line and every faucet. Let the faucet run for just a bit. That residual antifreeze will then go down into your P-traps. Like we discussed in the air blowout method, we want antifreeze to be in the water P-traps, but also to make its way to our holding tanks, the gray and the black tank. So allowing it to run just a little bit will get that antifreeze down into the drain lines and into the tank. Have a second person keep an eye on your gallon of antifreeze. A big fifth wheel trailer might take up to 3 gallons of antifreeze to fill the lines and the faucets. So make sure that you have the right quantity on hand and have a second person watch so that the pump doesn't draw the gallon of antifreeze dry and you start pulling air through the lines. Now, you might be thinking about one aspect that is not usually winterized, our black tank flush. Our black tank flush could be on the outside of the trailer or in our water bay, and we push water through that line to the black tank as well to flush it out. To winterize this, we can either use the air method where we hook up air at 50 psi to the black water tank flush valve, or we can just allow the water to drain. The line likely has a check valve in it that will allow water to drain through the nozzles and into the black tank itself. A couple aspects of winterizing that we don't want to forget are our appliances. So we might have a refrigerator that has a water dispenser or an ice maker. We also might have a washing machine that we need to winterize as well. Follow your manufacturer's recommendations for that. And of course, don't forget if you have an outside kitchen, the faucet that's out there as well. We'll have a link to all the products that we like to use below, so you can click on that and find out where to get those. Or if you have any questions or comments about winterizing, you can leave that below as well. You can visit our website, goldstarrv.org, and you can email us if you have any questions pertaining to winterizing that you might like answered. Thanks, and we'll see you next week.